On paper, the median Australian adult is doing remarkably well. If you tally up the average balance sheet, the typical citizen is sitting on roughly $392,000 in personal net worth. But if you step off the spreadsheet and look at the actual lived experience, that wealth completely vanishes. If the transmission blows on the car or a surprise $1,000 dental bill arrives in the mail, it triggers an immediate, visceral financial panic for the majority of the population. This happens because of a severe liquidity problem. The vast majority of that $392,000 is entirely inaccessible. It is trapped inside the physical bricks and timber of a residential home. You cannot slice off a piece of your roof to pay the mechanic. When an emergency hits, statistical wealth offers zero protection. The only metric that dictates your actual safety is deployable, readily available cash. At the exact opposite end of the spectrum, we have the billionaire class. Someone like mining magnate Gina Rinehart operates in a completely different physical state. Through institutional leverage and rolling credit lines, her billions are effectively 100% liquid. This equation is a concept from Econophysics called the Reality Tensor. It measures economic power by calculating biological urgency against resource scarcity. Applying this math to the gap between a billionaire's endless liquidity and an average person's limited cash, money stops behaving like numbers on a ledger. It acts exactly like physical mass. To comprehend the actual scale of modern inequality, we have to throw away flat graphs. We need to physically scale the billionaire relative to the average person's thermodynamic reality. Let's start with a comfortable baseline. Imagine an upper-middle-class worker standing 1.7 meters tall with $50,000 in liquid cash. Under the reality tensor, their localized urgency is low. But relative to them, the billionaire's mass expands to a sphere 306,000 kilometers across. That is roughly the size of 2 Jupiters. Now we drop to the median worker. They have perhaps $10,000 in accessible cash. Their biological urgency to maintain shelter and food rises sharply. In response, the billionaire sphere violently inflates. It is now 15.5 million kilometers wide. That is 11 times the width of our sun. As your liquid cash reserves drop, the gravitational disparity between you and the ultra-wealthy accelerates on an exponential curve. This brings us to the system's most counterintuitive anomaly, the aging pensioner. On paper, this couple holds a massive $650,000 net worth, but that capital is entombed in a house they cannot easily sell without rendering themselves homeless. In terms of cash they can actually spend tomorrow, they possess a mere $8,000. If we feed this high-friction, low-liquidity state into the equation, the billionaire expands again. They now scale to 171 suns wide, rivaling the red supergiant star Betelgeuse. A person we classify statistically as a millionaire is actually subjected to far more crushing economic gravity than a younger worker with half their net worth but better cash flow. Finally, we hit the absolute floor, a job seeker with exactly $1,000 left in the bank. Rent is due at the end of the week. Their biological urgency hits the maximum theoretical limit. In this state of maximum desperation, the final calculation drops. The billionaire's relative mass balloons to 8.67 billion kilometers across. That is over 6,000 suns wide, mapping to the hypergiant star VY Canis Majoris. If the job seeker's cash drops any further, physics runs out of comparisons. There is no named stellar object in the universe large enough to represent the disparity. At this scale, the idea of a clearing, efficient market ceases to exist. For the individual trapped at the bottom, the economy has collapsed into a total systemic singularity. This is what that singularity actually looks like. Our 1.7-meter human is standing on the edge of a monstrous, inescapable black hole. When the liquid mass of an institution or a billionaire is this enormous relative to your immediate, desperate need to survive, you completely lose the ability to negotiate. Those 400% payday loans, surging suburban rents, and grocery price markups operate predictably within this environment. They are the mechanics of extreme gravitational coercion, extracting wealth from people who have no physical alternatives. Extreme inequality functions as a physical distortion of reality. The system will continue to warp until we stop tracking wealth through paper statistics and start measuring the true thermodynamic cost of survival.